Helen Keller was born into a wealthy American family in 1880. She contracted what was believed to be meningitis when she was 19 months old, leaving her blind, hearing impaired, and speech impaired for the rest of her life. Helen Keller's parents were recommended the Perkins School for the Blind by her expert and asked the school to provide a tutor for her. The tutor who came was the famous Anne Sullivan. Anne Sullivan was born into a poor immigrant family, and she was orphaned at a young age. After a difficult life in which she moved from poorhouse to poorhouse, she entered the Perkins School for the Blind, where she was taught how to use Braille and sign language, and she graduated at the top of her class. It is said that Sullivan, too, suffered from conjunctivitis from a young age, and was virtually blind, and after several major surgeries, she regained some of her vision. Helen and Sullivan's life was not easy. Helen, who was spoiled, never listened to anyone, so Sullivan wrestled with her all day, and she taught Helen her sign language. And Sullivan was extremely patient with her Helen, and attempted to teach her language by writing on the palm of her hand. The episode where we first realized the meaning of water at the water pump is very famous. Helen received her formal education when she was 8 years old, when she was enrolled at the Perkins School for the Blind. In 1894, she went to New York, where she attended the Hornsman School for the Deaf, where Sarah Fuller, a teacher at the school, taught Helen how to speak by having her touch and feel the vibrations of her throat and the shape of her mouth. It is said that while teaching for the first time, she was able to speak in this way. She subsequently attended Cambridge Girls' School, and then, at the age of 16, she entered Radcliffe College for Girls, and by the time she graduated in 1904, she was the first deaf-blind person to receive a bachelor's degree. It is also said that she spoke 5 languages. Helen was active in her writing as a writer, and she was also active in social movements, such as women's suffrage, anti-racism, welfare for the disabled, and worker protection movements. However, contrary to Helen and Sullivan's well-known reputation, they did not have an easy life. Unable to see, hear or understand anything on her own, Helen had to rely on someone's help. There are also suspicions that Helen's parents embezzled their daughter's donations when her father, Arthur, failed in his business, and her family fortune declined. Helen did not inherit anything that could be considered her inheritance after her parents' death, and that Sullivan also did not receive a single penny of her tutor's salary, which was overdue for nearly 10 years. Furthermore, it is said that both Helen and Sullivan suffered from financial difficulties throughout their lives, because they did not know how to manage money well. Additionally, Helen and Sullivan had to worry about how they appeared to others throughout their lives. Sullivan died in 1936 at the age of 70. Helen held on tightly to the hand of this grateful teacher until the very end, and did not let go. It is said that in 1946, Helen suffered an accident in which her house where she lived caught fire, and all of her materials and manuscripts that she had collected up to that time were destroyed. Helen died in 1968 at the age of 87, after being confined to a wheelchair and bed for over 7 years due to diabetes. Helen Keller and Sullivan are known to many people as great people who overcame obstacles and achieved miracles. But behind the fame we know, they had to overcome many barriers, prejudices, and ups and downs in life. Even if you are born perfect and do not live a perfectly beautiful life, I think that life is worth living just by overcoming your limitations and using your abilities to the fullest. Lastly, we will conclude today's video by introducing Helen Keller's famous quote: "When one door to happiness closes, another opens." But often we look at the closed doors for so long that we don't see the ones that are open for us. The only thing more tragic than being born blind is being able to see, but have no vision. Hope sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible. Even though the world is full of pain, it is also full of the power to overcome it.